How does your relationship with your father, how did that impact the way you raise us, your children?
I didn't have a father in the home. I was the youngest of 3 siblings. When I came along, my parents had divorced. I think they had either just gotten divorced or were in the process or something like that. The impact that had on me, well, it showed me what kind of father I didn't want to have. Let me put it that way. The kind of father for my children that I would not want to have. I did meet my father a couple of times. I think he came over to our home briefly a few times. And then when I was in my 20s, I got to meet him as well with his wife and his other children. It was challenging in terms of, I was told that my father was an alcoholic. I was told that as a result of his drinking, there was some physical contact with him and my mom. So that led to the divorce. That was my understanding. That's what I was told. And I never talked to him about it. He's deceased now, so I couldn't verify that information, but that's what I was told. It was later, after I was older, and actually I think I was working at Channel 2 at the time, that my father spoke to my brother and said he wanted to see me. And my brother convinced me to go visit with him, visit with him and his new family. And so I went on and visited with him. And I was saved at the time, so I knew the importance of forgiveness and developing a relationship and with your parents and honoring your parents and this sort of thing. So we went and visited with him and had a nice little chat, nice little talk. But in the back of my mind, I didn't know if he was really reaching out to me because of the fact that I was working on television versus reaching out to me because I'm his daughter and he just cared for me and wanted to, get to know me better. But if that was the case, he could have done it many years ago. So
it could have been a moment where things have led up to where he felt like it was time too.
Yes,
as
and
an
that's
option.
true. That's true.
As well.
Very true. God could have touched his heart at this point and, made him realize that, hey, he wanted to do something different. He wanted to make a change with his life, and that's very true as well.
There's not one instance in my mind where I felt like my grandfather not being there affected you. Like it almost seemed like you have, like you remain strong, patient and loving. And I can't think of any time where you said anything negative, where you lashed out or said anything inappropriate. So like looking back, I always tell all of my friends, I've never heard my parents yell and scream and holler growing up. And so they've always handled challenging situations with peace and patience. So I just want to encourage you and say, I know Mom, say, that means a lot to me. Hearing this, and then for really honestly, the first time hearing this, and then knowing growing up that you've kind of like carried this, but on the other end, it didn't affect, not to say it hasn't affected you, but it hasn't affected you in a way to where it becomes something negative for us. And we have a certain animosity or hatred for my grandfather. So.
Right, no, I didn't want to get into that or to give that impression to you guys because I think because when I grew up, that impression was given to me, okay, as something negative, and I didn't want to carry that negativity on, but just let it die because we don't truly know the real circumstance and what all was involved in it anyway, so.
Well, you've done an exceptional job. So no, you really have done an amazing job.
Well, I thank God. I couldn't have done any of it without the Lord and without, of course, a good husband by my side to be supportive and to help. When I got tired, he could take over. When he got tired, I could take over. And so, well, you know how it goes. You really need the mother and the father in a family to really make it work successfully.
You know, for fatherhood, I think for me, I didn't want to have kids until I knew that I was, one, going to be married, but also with someone that wanted to be a father. Because I grew up with a stepfather for a majority of my life, but I didn't have my birth father in my life. And I didn't realize how much it affected me until I started actually trying to have relationships. And there was trust issues, because the first man you actually have in your life wasn't there to teach you, protect you, but also show you how you're supposed to be treated. Because honestly, only a father can teach you that. Your mother can tell you, don't do this, don't do that, but your father, that's the man you grew up to marry. Since I didn't have that, and having a child now, you kind of wonder, like, how can you have a child in the world and just go about life? I couldn't imagine being a mother and my child is somewhere else. Somebody else taking responsibility of something I created. It still families me to this day because we still don't have a relationship.
I absolutely loved your series on fatherhood. I feel like fathers are so very important, and I feel like the celebration of fathers is necessary, which is why I love that you did that series. I don't feel like fathers get the credit that they deserve. How our world and our society is the way that it is because men don't know their place and their value in the home and the household, you know, but I can say when you see fathers or men stepping up to the plate, raising their own kids and those that don't have that role, it's a blessing to me. It blesses me. It makes me want to empower men to continue to do that. But it's God's design. Like, we can't do it without them, and they technically, it's a partnership. They can't do it without us. And so it's such a vital role. And I think while I know this in my head, I don't think I really felt it until, God blessed me with my spouse. I see how my son looks up to him. I see how he mimics him, It's a blessing. I think my dad is amazing. He was very, very present, very, very much a part of our life. I feel like he brought about a balance. My mom has one type of personality and my dad is like on the other side of the spectrum. And so I feel like it kind of helped me to find my center and come up with my philosophies in terms of raising my kids. For a season in my childhood, my mom wasn't always saved. My dad was taking us to church. So when it was his weekends, we were going to church, and, he's just, that entire side of the family is just love. They don't even have to say a word. It's in their eyes, it's in their facial expressions, it's in their smile. It's just all love. And so I tried to do that. I tried to be that. He talks, My mom knows she wasn't always saved, and so there wasn't always conversations when we got in trouble. It looked a little different when you got in trouble. And so that's something that was important to me, I learned a lot from both, but I can say that logical reasoning, let's talk about what you did and, why this is playing out the way it is, what could we have done better? I just kind of feel like that's a philosophy that kind of emerged from seeing the two different styles and what I felt was beneficial and what worked for me and what was effective versus what I felt like, I think I'm gonna let that ride. I don't think that it's gonna work for me in my house. And so
you find yourself actually doing that for your kids, like, all right, let me tried to talk it out with them, try to listen to them?
Yes.
Because that's the characteristic you said your dad brought to the table.
Very much so. It's very important to me that they feel like they can express themselves. I feel like it's very unhealthy to suppress feelings. I feel like it manifests itself in other ways later on in life, and it causes and it creates unhealthy beings, and it's just not necessary when all it boils down to is giving them the opportunity to talk and validate their feelings. Now, you still gonna get this consequence, but I hear you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that that's what I took. Like, and it's interesting because, you know, saved mother, my mom, loves everything about my philosophies, and, you know, not to, you know, downplay her role or her part. It's just, it took seeing both sides and seeing the two extremes to be able to come up with what I think works. Because I can go there, you know, I can be that person. But I really try to stay here because you can't take back, you know? And I don't know. Even it really used to hurt me when I got in trouble with my dad. Like, you could see and feel the disappointment, and he didn't raise his voice. Now, he had a big daddy cane, we used to call it a belt, and he said he whooped us. I don't remember the whoopings. What I remember is doing the action and feeling the disappointment. And that was what was effective for me.